Okay guys, we're gonna make my very first loaf of sourdough bread. But we're having to start something really early before I even get into making the bread. And we gotta start by feeding Wilson. So today we're making sourdough bread. Yum! Okay guys, let's get ready to, I'm trying to get y'all where the sun is not too, it's bright that way and it's bright that way. I must not ever cook this time of day. So anyway, let's get started. I'm going to show you the items we're going to need. Now you can do this by measurement. I don't know those measurements, but I will leave in the description a link or something to a conversion chart that you can, if you need to do measuring cups. I did it by weight because that was the lady I was following. That's how she did it. So you need a pair of just a cheap kitchen scales. So you're gonna need that. You're gonna need, I kind of go through a couple of things. Couple of things to stir with. Now today I'm doing something different, so I'm also going to use a little rubber spoon. You need a clean jar because we're going to start with feeding Wilson. That's where it all starts. We got to feed Wilson. So you need a clean jar to move Wilson over into. He needs a clean home. I use several things to measure in because I measure differently, and I need another bowl. And I need a container. This is not normal. You don't always need all this stuff. I'm just doing things a little different today. So let me go get my other bowl and my container because I'm going to hang on to my discard. Normally you throw stuff away, but I'm going to hang on to it today because tonight for supper we're going to have sourdough pancakes too. Okay guys, we're going to start right here with our scale. I'm going to turn it on. I'm going to be sure it's in the gram, G-R-A-M, gram setting. You can change it to ounces, pounds, but we want it in the grams. And so I'm going to set my bowl on here. And I don't know if you can see the measurement or not. I don't know if I can get you down that low to see. But it says 105 grams. So I want to change that to 0. So I'm just going to hit this button and change it to 0. So the first thing I want to do, the way I do mine, the first thing I want to do is measure out 200 grams of, and I'm using, let me show you what I'm using. I can't show you what I'm using. I'm using whole wheat flour. Now when I make my bread, I'm going to use bread flour, so it's not going to be a whole wheat bread, but this is just what I'm doing with my starter. So I'm going to measure out, and I'm going to let you watch with me if you can see the number. I hope you can. I don't know because I can't see what you see, but I'm going to measure out 200 grams of whole wheat flour. We're at 110. All right, 161. So close. 200 right there. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pour. I'm going to pour that over into my big bowl. I'm going to set my bowl back down on the scale and I tared it out back down to 0. And so now we're going to get Wilson. Now, let me show you Wilson real quick. Here's Wilson. Yesterday, look at all these bubbles he still has. You can see where he, where's my, oh, there's yours. Where he rose to this point, and then he comes back down. That's exactly normal. That's exactly the way you want it. And so, I'm just going to slide everything over. I'll let you see into Wilson. And see how stringy and gooey. And I'm just going to stir, whoops, hello. I'm going to stir Wilson up. All right. Now I'm just going to set this in my container over here. All right. So let's bring our scale back over. Don't know if you can see the weight, but I have tared it. I'm going to tear it again just to be sure it's at 0. All right, so I also need 200 grams of Wilson. So everything's equal parts. Now, we didn't start with 200. We started with, I think it was 50. All right. Getting close. One more drop, I think will do it. Well, I meant one more big drop. Oh, I went over. That's okay. Okay, so I have no idea how much you saw, but I have 200 grams of Wilson. I have 200 grams of the wheat flour, and I have 200 grams of lukewarm. Let me be sure, it's 200 grams. It says 210. Let's see what this one says. Alright, it says 190. There we go. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my lukewarm water, and I'm actually going to... Okay, y'all, I don't know what's going on with my phone, but I mixed the water in with my starter. So I'm just mixing that up really good. And now I'm going to take my wheat, and I'm actually going to pour this starter. I'm going to be sure I'm getting it all, or at least the majority of it. Okay. I'm just going to take this to clean out everything. All right. So we're going to stir this up, and this is the new and fed. He has been fed. He's a happy boy this morning. So this is now the new Wilson. He feels satisfied. He has been fed. So, let's now get him over here into his new jar. And I'm just going to set you guys up to watch this. Nothing fancy about this, except I have to kind of guide it in because my jar is not too wide. It's wider than a quart jar, of course. This is a half-gallon jar that I'm using. Now let me use this spoon. Be a little bit easier. Oh my goodness. Of course, because I got a camera on, nothing's going exactly the way I want it. Now let me tell you, you need to put water in your utensils that has this stuff, because this stuff right here, when it dries, oh my word. I don't know if you want to say it's like super glue, tar, asphalt, cement. It's like something. So I'm going to run water in this immediately. All right, so let me go run water over here real quick, and we'll come back. Let me get the rest of this. This was on here too. I want to get all of Wilson I can get. All right, let me go run some water. I'll be right back. Okay, guys, so I'm going to just even him down. Like, kind of make him, you know, flat all the way across. All right. Now, let me get the rubber band here. This rubber band is going to, like, line where Wilson is at right now. So I can see where he grows. And I'll know when it's time to make the bread. Now, when it comes time to make the bread, from my understanding, I want to catch it as it's feeding upwards. Like, I don't want it to get full and start coming back down. I want to catch it as it's going up. So, we're going to find my lid for Wilson. And I'm using a coffee filter and a rubber band. Let me get this off the edge. I don't want that hard stuff. All right, and let's put his hat on. And then what I do, I'm going to back you guys up a little bit so you can see a little bit better. I take a dark colored towel. It doesn't have to be dark colored, but you want him to stay fairly dark. And my heat source has light, so I want to keep him kind of dark. So I'm using a dark purple towel, but you use what you got. You don't have to use this. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick him in my oven over here with the light on. I have a pan, because I have seen on some people's sites that their starter gets really hungry and he just fills up, and he overflows. So I have a pan. It's my old well-seasoned dark pan. And I'm going to set Wilson, my light is over here on this side, so I'm going to set Wilson over here on this side. I'm going to close my door, and I'm just going to cut the light on. So that's going to be his heat source. So now let's talk about the discard. Let me bring you back up. All right. Remember Wilson's old home? I still have a bunch left. Well, tonight we're going to have there's that good stuff. We're going to have sourdough pancakes tonight. And so I'm going to stick this over here in that water. And we're going to just, I wanted to do it this morning, but I don't have pancake syrup, so I got to go to the store. I didn't want to go to the store, but I got to go to the store. So I've lost the lid to this glass jar, so I'm just going to pour this up. I never had you guys where you can see good. So we're going to try this. There we go. So I'm going to, normally this is what you would throw away. This, you could not use this to make bread unless you fed it again. But you can make things that are going to be flat just to give it some extra flavor. And so we're going to do the best we can. Getting all this gunk out. Because you don't want to, like, this stuff gets really like cement. Like this stuff I've dropped a little bit right here. Well, I guess it's probably more like cement if it was the freshly fed, but still this stuff probably gets pretty hard too. And I just don't want a lot of that stuff. I don't mind a little bit going down my drain if it's been diluted in water, but I sure don't want a lot of it. And so I try to clean up as much stuff. So I'm just going to put the lid on this and set it aside till tonight, till I'm ready to have pancakes. So I'm going to put a lid on it. I'm going to clean out Wilson's old home. And we're just going to wait till Wilson starts to work. And then we'll make us some bread. And then after we make sourdough bread, I want to make some Amish donuts. So I'm excited about that. So I'm going to get cleaned up and I'll see you back when Wilson is on the rise. Okay guys, so I thought we needed to get this recipe on because I switched recipes in mid-go. And this recipe has to proof a little longer than the other one did. So I thought, oh no, I gotta get it going. Now, this recipe comes from where they know sourdough. They know sourdough. So, and where can that be? That can be only Ireland, of course. Yes, me said Ireland. Therefore, the recipes are in grams. Not measurements. Or not measuring cups. So, anyway, it is in grams and milliliters. Now, I do have a baker's conversion chart, and that helped me really good, and I figured out a lot of things, except for when it came to one of them, and so I couldn't figure it out, only because my math stinks. Children, stay in school and study math. Get tutoring if you need to, because you will need it. But anyway, so I just measured everything. And so I've gotten my flour and my salt measured out. And I'm going to put it over here in my enamel bowl. Going over here. All right. So now we need to measure out some water. Remember, since I'm measuring, I have to tear out my, let me show you. Get off there. Okay. See, and it has a weight, so I want it to go to 0. So I'm going to tear it out to 0. And we're going to measure out 460 grams of water. Okay guys, I've measured 460 grams or milliliters of water in the same bowl I measured my flour. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to pour it in here. Now let me get Wilson out real quick. Oops, I carried him off. But he was about right here, and you can see the bubbles, and you can tell he's growing. If you can see, I don't know a good way, but he's kind of humped up in the middle. That means he's on his way up. So I've caught him in time. And we're going to tear our bowl out again. And we're going to measure 320 grams of Wilson. And I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to use, that won't fit. Let's see. This will fit. Now this is going to make 2 loaves of bread, and y'all aren't getting to see what I'm doing. Sorry. My goodness, it's going to use all of Wilson. We may have to start another Wilson. Maybe I should have halved this recipe. Too late now. I'm trying to get to 320. And this blob right here may do it. Oh yeah. Oh, look there. All right, I'm gonna stick Wilson back in the oven. And later on, I'm gonna weigh Wilson, and then I'm gonna add the same amount of flour and water as I have of Wilson. And we'll feed him again, and we might let him rest some more in the oven. Bryant will be so happy. All right, so we're going to add Wilson over here. Or our starter. He's no longer Wilson. He's now our starter. And this is our yeast. This is basically our yeast going in. Let me see if I can find my dough scraper that I just got. And I don't know where Caroline put it. Alright guys, I'm just going to start bringing it together. And I want to get that yeast mixed up in there really good, so I'm going in with my hands. I need to take my finger off. I need to take my ring off, not my finger. We're just going to bring everything together. This, like I said, is going to make 2 loaves. I think I'm going to make like a long baguette type. And I think I'm also going to make like a round one. Traditional sourdough. Isaac, will you hand me that box of bread flour? Okay guys, I'm going to take you off my thing here. We're just going to put just, not even much at all, just a little bit of flour. Out here we're going to dump Wilson out here. And yes, he's kind of wet and sticky, but we're going to knead and he'll come together. Supposedly. You just pull and push. Pull and push. Pull and push. And we don't want to add much flour because that'll make a dense bread. But we want to get that yeast all worked in there. Will you do me one more favor? Will you get me that red bowl? Yeah. It won't go up there anyway, so I gotta. Alright, so they say there's a window pane test, and I know we're not there, but I'm going to show you. You just take the dough, and it breaks the, whoops. You're just taking the dough, and you want to see if you can see through it, but it breaks apart. I don't know if you can see where it broke apart. So that means it's not ready. So I'm going to keep kneading, and I'll bring you back when we get close to ready. Okay guys, as you can see, this dough is looking a whole lot different than it did a while ago. So let me show you, you know when I showed you where it tore apart? Let's see if it's still tearing apart or if it's ready. Can see where I can spread it and it doesn't tear. Can't really see the light through it, but I can see the light through it, and it's not ripping, it's not tearing. That means we're ready. So let me just get that piece incorporated back in. That, my friends, is a beautiful dough. So I'm just going to use the bowl. After I measured the flour and put it in, I'm just going to use that. We're going to let this sit and rise for 3 hours. Okay, guys, it is time to get our sourdough. Let's see here. I'm trying to get y'all in a good spot to see. I believe that's good. We're just going to, I'm not sure about this dough, but we're gonna see. it had risen. And we're just getting it kind of back to where we were. Let me and I'm just kind of pulling up the edges. And we're just kind of spinning it to make it into a pretty ball. Now, I have not gotten my Banton or Banneton or I think it's Banton. And I don't know where my sifter is. Right here it is. And I'm just going to reach in here and get some bread flour. And I'm going to liberally flour my basket. Now I pretty much think my basket kind of has to go through a seasoning process itself. And I'm going to be sure my bread is floured well. All right. And we're going to let this proof again for another 3 hours. This bread's taken a lot, and I'm a little worried because I don't think it looked quite as light as it should have. But maybe I'm worrying for nothing. We shall see. I'm going to set it back here. All right, let's work on this. And we're shaping. This is what we're doing right now, is we are just kind of shaping our dough. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to pull up the edges. I'm going to kind of get it into a ball to begin with. And this one, let's start with the ball. And then I want to make it more of a baguette type. I don't really have a baguette basket, so I'm just going to kind of work it out this way. We'll kind of turn it in on itself. It feels like absolutely beautiful dough. I want to see how, okay, that's about as long as I can make it. So I've got like this is actually an old pillowcase that came from my mom's. My niece had them made into tea towels for me. I was so grateful and thankful. Now, I don't want it to, as it proofs again, I don't want it to get much wider. So I'm actually gonna there. And we're going to let this proof this is loosely, I don't have it on tight, but I kind of want it to keep its shape. So we're going to just let this also proof for 3 hours. Let me check the time and I'll see you back in 3 hours. Hey guys, right now it looks like my kitchen has exploded. So we need to get these sourdoughs in the oven. My oven's preheating, but we're going to look at them. I don't think these rose like they were supposed to, so this may be a flop. Get a small scoop of flour. Oops, hold on now. Burning my pancakes. Oh, gracious. Alright. And I'm just going to store our bread. And there we go. So that one's ready to go in. Now, let's look at this one. Still not as much rise as I was hoping for, but we're gonna see. What you doing, Betty Rose? Well, let's see here. Let's do it this way. Let's just stuff. Whoa! Safe! Stay safe! Alright, let's just do a side and we'll get an ear out of that. Alright, let's get it in here. Alright, and these will go in just as soon as their oven is preheated to 440, I think is what I preheated to. Okay, here is one of my loaves of the sourdough bread, and Bryant's fixing to cut it.
Alright, here we go, guys. Fresh out of the oven. It's hot.
Look at the crumb. The holes.
Look at the crumb. Would you look at that? Just look at it.
Amazing. I'm so happy.
Everybody's ready to try it.
You're not supposed to cut a loaf of bread when it's hot.
Nope.
But don't cut my tablecloth.
Like this. There you go.
Is it good?
It's fluffy. A bite?
That's a nice good buddy biscuit with, ain't it?
Bite.
Here we go.
Here you go.
Just think about dropping butter. Delicious.
Delicious. All right, guys, there you have it. And I'll show you my other loaf when it comes out of the oven. All right, there you go, y'all. There is my other loaf of sourdough bread. Not bad for my first bout with sourdough. And the other one is almost gone. So there you have it. Thank you for watching The Farm and Pastor's Wife. And remember, if the grease is hot enough, you can fry anything. Bye, y'all.